Hello and welcome crochet friends to BEANIE-Tastic number 17. Today I have 4 fantastic beanies to share with you all. This is G Crochet Off the Hook and I'm G Geraldine. Today's beanies, we have 3 beanies with Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming as we continue our adventures of Bod Hatterpalooza, and a beautiful beanie from KK Crochet. Let's start with a beanie all the way from February, as I have been struggling with beanies off the hook, and that's just due to the weather. However, I do need to get a crack on because winter won't wait for any of us. So the first beanie off the hook to share is this beanie by Bag O' Day. It's called the Cable Line Beanie. I made this one in February and I used a .5 crochet hook, and I was trying to finish off this ball of variegated yarn. This was the Garcia Nova, the Brillo, and as I knew there wasn't going to be enough, I hunted in my stash of more yarn ends, and I still had some of this Kismet's Sage Green, and I think the combination of those two together gave us a lovely surprise in the Cable Line beanie. This is a tutorial with Crystal at Bag O' Day. We did start from the top, always such a pretty beginning, and we created the cables with front post double crochets. And this one I just ended with a single crochet, and then I did a second row of single crochets, but sort of over the first set of single crochets, and that was because it was just a little bit too broad at the bottom, even though I had decreased. But this is a good fitted size beanie for an adult, and I didn't want to make the brim much longer. So to compensate, I did my single crochet decreases, and then I just single crocheted over those single crochets, creating this little ridge over here. So that's the first one to share with you all. And this is 100% acrylic. And the next Bag O' Day beanie was this gorgeous jasmine stitch. Let me pop this in the basket and grab the jasmine stitch beanie. Now for this one I used, and I'm losing my place, I also used a 5.5mm crochet hook. And this time, because I was still dipping into yarn ends here, I started off with this Kismet's Sage Green, and then I added in and used all of it up. I don't think I do have the ball band here. I did not use all of it. Look at that. I have this tiny bit left. I added some of this variegated Al Yarn's Charity DK in the colorway Kiwi Salad. I had that little bit. So there again, mixing yarn ends and getting this two-faced jasmine beanie. This one was a little bit tricky. I did start it twice, Oops, I think I lost everybody for a second, so I hope we've still got the first lot on the screens. As I was saying, the jasmine stitch was a little tricky, but that just meant I did start it twice. The second time I just went a little bit slower and concentrated on making sure I started off with the right amount right over here. So I think it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 of these little sections on the side here, and once I had that, because I think the first time for some reason I landed up with 7, then it was very easy to just follow through as Crystal gives us the instructions and just look at that gorgeous stitch that you are able to create at the end of the day. And then I changed to that kiwi salad colorway, and I ended off with 1, 2, 3 rounds of single crochet at the bottom. So this is our jasmine stitch beanie with Bag O Day. So that's 2 of the 4 done. Again, let me place it into the basket. And then our third Bag O Day beanie is another gorgeous stitched beanie, and this is the Alpine Ridge beanie. Now for this one I did use some sparkle. Can we see the sparkle there? It just felt like this beanie needed sparkles. And of course the color changes as the rose changed color. I'm quite fine with that. It just worked out a right royal sparkle treat. This one I used a 4mm, and I had on hand this Lion Brands Mandela. That's all it's called. No, there's a colorway, it's called Nifflers. So the inside started with the orange to a yellow to a brighter yellow to greens, and there's another green coming out, and you can see, I think with this I would actually get another beanie like this with the ridges in it, because often when we're doing front post double crochet, those stitches can use up a little bit of extra yarn, but then it was going to change to a green, a blue, and then a purple. So I'm going to hold on to this for another beanie that might need some sparkle. And I just loved the way these stitches worked up to give us a lovely textured beanie. If you've been here for a while, then you know I love textured stitches and I love a textured beanie. So this did take a little bit of time with the 4mm crochet hook, but I absolutely love it. And this one was called the Alpine Ridge beanie. And I'm going to leave it here on the, oh, one more thing to note. When I finished off with the single crochets at the bottom over here, I did a, what would normally be a crab stitch, you know, which is a reverse single crochet on this very last row, but that's not what I did. I used the stitch that we learned last year with Spring the Fiber Enthusiast. She has a way of creating this, I don't know if you can see those little parallel lines over here, is when you are doing your single crochet, you wrap your yarn around the stitch before you complete it, and I just love the effect that it gives. So on some of those makes where there's a straightforward single crochet, I have been adding that stitch, and I just love that little something extra. And of course, if you're crocheting something with a sparkle yarn, you can never have too much extra. So that's why I added that little bit of extra in there as well. And that is our third beanie off the hook. And if you'd like to make some of Crystal's beanies from Bag O Day and you want to have some fabulous company, then head on over to Mad Mimi's Crochet and Farming And Laura has a whole list of beanies we have already done, and then of course join in with the beanies that we are drawing out during the course of the week. It's fabulous to see everybody's makes that the yarn that they choose, and how all the beanies look. And I was saying right at the beginning, I'm going to leave this one on the little headstand until I put the next new beanie on my hook. So those were the 3 of the 4 beanies, and our last but certainly not least beanie is this absolute beautiful beanie that was created by KK Crochet. And if you would like to join Kendra and Kristen with some of the beanies that they've been doing, this one falls under Welcome to the Hive. And KK Crochet has been making a number of beanies. This is the first one that I was able to get off the hook with very special people in mind as they create it. Now, if you head on over to see this particular one, you will see that the beanie that KK Crochet has made is red, because this is Juanita's red sweater beanie, and it was made with KK's mom in mind, and I absolutely love this beanie. Now, it does have what I think is the Jacob's ladder, and KK does use buttons on her beanies. It's absolutely gorgeous. You must go and have a look. So you know, when the beanie was initially finished, this is what you were looking at, this, and that's where you would sew on your buttons. So I have done a just a little side tutorial on how I created my crochet buttons, which is just basically a popcorn stitch, and then I just knotted it on to the top there, so that when I fed through my little loops, holding it up, and right at the end I could just use my crocheted buttons and added them in on there. I actually remember in the comment section that there were a number of people that mentioned that it would be nice to maybe crochet a little button that we could use. Now, this beanie I made using a 5.5, gosh, it was the 5.5 millimeters Time to Shine, and I was using Kismet's Knitspiration Chunky in the colorway Sugar Plum and Oatmeal for Juanita's red sweater beanie. And from the little tutorial that I did, there's my little popcorn button. So I guess I have one on hand if I need it for another crochet project. But an absolutely gorgeous beanie. I look forward, and I do have quite a number of more of the beanies from Welcome to the Hive on my list, and I look forward to making them going forward. So that was the 4 crochet beanies for BEANIE-Tastic 17, and a little update on my crocheting newborn baby beanies and bootie and sock sets. I did get to use another Lullabies double knitting, and this colorway was called Shipwreck. Now, something to note, because the last time I used this whole skein in a different colorway, I was able to get 4 of the newborn beanies from that skein and 3 pairs of socks. And I didn't weigh the yarn ball ahead of time. It's not something that I really practice doing, but I must note that I have only this left. I'm still using the same patterns. These beanies measure exactly what the other beanies measure. I use the same hook. I'm using a 4.5 millimeter hook, and I was able to get 3. Isn't that colorway gorgeous though? Shipwrecked. 3 of the newborn baby beanies and 3 pairs of the socks from this skein. So I will be able to add only 3 sets to my tally and not an extra beanie. So I don't know how that worked. I will be doing another one of those skeins soon. But you can see we have another 3 sets. Let me try what I see all these very experienced people doing. I'm going to just give a silly little smile, and there we go. So in next month I'll do a tally of where we at with all these sets, and of course I'll be doing these during the course of the year. This is Olga Petolva's V-Stitch newborn beanie, and the socks is by Crocheted by Nora. And that's it. That's a catch up and up to date with all the beanies that have come off the hook. I really do hope that you're enjoying experimenting with yarn ends, whether they're variegated or solid colors, and mixing them up, adding some sparkle, adding some textured, adding some memory into your BEANIE-Tastic makes. Thanks for watching, guys, and I'll see you soon with some more BEANIE-Tastic magic off the hook. Hi, crochet friends. I'm just popping by to show you how I made myself some crocheted buttons for this beanie, and this is what I did. With a slip knot, I just chained 1, 2, 3, yarned over, and created a popcorn of 5. So I went into the very first chain and did a double crochet, and then a second double crochet, a third double crochet, and a fourth double crochet. So in essence, with the chain 3, I did 1, 2, 3, 4 double crochets, and I'm going to put my hook into the top of that chain 3, pop my working yarn back onto the hook, pull that working yarn through the top of that chain 3, pull tight, chain 1, and that in essence is our little button. Next, I just cut myself a tail, and this is basically my little button. And to attach it, I just threaded one tail in, chose where I wanted it to go, so I'm just going to put a mock one in here. Thread that tail through, released it, thread it on the second tail. I don't split the yarn. And then chose a spot, not the same one, but a different spot. Threaded it through. You can face it up or down, whichever way. And then on the back, I just knotted it. And then if I was attaching this, I knotted all of these twice, just threaded my yarn tail and weaved it back and forth underneath the back loop of these stitches. So you can see none of the yarn shows through. And there we created a little crochet button. Enjoy!